Back in the early 1960s and 70s, this was a retail hub of Boston that had, once again, kind of fallen on this urban blight through the late 70s, 1980s, and 90s. The Ritz was the Avery Street Hotel that was no longer in use. The Ritz-Carlton really took an area that was formerly known as the Combat Zone. The Ritz went up in 2001, followed most recently 2 years ago by Millennium Place, and really our crown jewel now being Millennium Tower. This is a project that has tremendous goodwill, but doesn't get here if you don't have a private developer like Millennium willing to vest $1.5 billion in downtown, that's the Ritz, Millennium Place, and Millennium Tower, and believe in what is this neighborhood's tomorrow going to be.
There was only one tenant in the building, a little liquor store down on the ground floor. Oxford Capital bought it in 2012. And started the construction about a year later. These adaptive reuse projects are amazingly complex. You know, when I first came into this building, it was just a big empty shell and just dirt everywhere, a real hard hat zone. And it seemed like it was like that for the longest time, and then all of a sudden, everything started coming together.
I've been in the business for 10 years, and for the majority of that time, this building was somewhat off the radar. Lafayette City Center didn't really register on many brokers' minds. When State Street decided to consolidate operations elsewhere in the city, it presented a unique opportunity for us to get an inside look at a building that hadn't really been marketed in years. In mid-2013, when this building was brought to the market and the renovation was announced and the vacancy came available, it was a pretty interesting time. The transformation that the Abbey Group did was really spot on. This building created a unique opportunity for tenants such as Carbonite, Sonos, Safari Books, Partners, to have a real big presence in downtown Crossing in the middle of the city, but ultimately all have all of their people in one consolidated footprint. I would argue it's probably the most dynamic market in the city right now. We've seen a lot of new tenants coming in here. We've seen new retail, we've seen new residential. So it's really become the live, work, play epicenter in the city.
We've been selling this building for a little over a year and have over $900 million in under agreement activity. It's an incredibly compelling story of not only the number of people that want to call downtown their home, but the diversity of that buyer base that is going to be coming in here, living, working, going out in these areas.
I think really what it boils down to is it's a move for the workforce.
Downtown had mainly been financial service companies and law firms. And now the biggest growing segment is technology, life science, advertising, and marketing.
Tenants are looking at the infrastructure of these buildings and recreating it to something that it hasn't necessarily been in the past.
We are the only Boston improvement district in the city.
The bid has been, really valuable for the neighborhood.
I think everybody knows the history of the Millennium Tower site being the Filene's building. We refurbished that building, it's underlit now, and it really serves as a reminder of the history of the area, while then we have this beautiful glass tower rising up behind.
For those that live here, they love it because they can walk to work. It's convenient to other major neighborhoods in the city. And then once they're here, you need to keep them here, and you got to keep them happy.
You've got something interesting going on all the time. There's offices in the day, but there's theater and there's restaurants and there's nightlife at night.
It's the people, it's the environment, it's the retail that are really going to keep the engine going here. Retail on Washington Street, I think in the next 3, 4, 5 years is going to be completely transformed.
Our most recent tenant to move in there was a Dublin-based retail shop, Primark. We have lines waiting to get in there on Saturday. We have people shopping past 6 o'clock on weekdays.
It's not necessarily what is here today, it's what can be.
We may be at just the tip of the iceberg on where this marketplace can go.
Downtown Crossing has a soul, it has a history, it has its kind of its ugly past and its glamorous past. And it's really sort of like a true urban neighborhood that it feels like a neighborhood.